Thanks, guys. Today we are looking at some beautiful sunny weather, sitting at a high about 81. And as you can see, I have some beautiful flowers that are blooming all over campus. And while they are so pretty, it's important to keep in mind pollen count. Today we're looking at a high level of grass pollen and a very high level of tree pollen. But that's all I have for right now. Back to you guys at the news desk. Thanks, guys. Now, while we have this beautiful weather today, like I said, tomorrow we're going to be looking at a record high. I will have more on that after this break. Welcome back to Carolina News. Let's get into the current weather. So right now we are looking at a beautiful high of 81 with tons of sunshine. The low sitting around 61, humidity around 44%, and winds pushing from the southwest at about 9 miles per hour. Let's take a look across the state. Now, as we look across the state, we are seeing pretty consistent temperatures along the top and through the middle, but as we get down here on the coast and we're looking at Myrtle Beach and Charleston, we are seeing those lower temperatures from that cold front, which will be pushing in for us this weekend. Now, these wildfire concerns are still going on, still with a red flag fire alert across the state. So if you do plan on burning anything, make sure you're being cautious and safe. Now, I know the pollen is affecting a lot of people, myself included. So the tree pollen count right now is sitting at very high and will continue into Saturday. Same thing with the grass count, and that's sitting at high and will continue into Saturday. As we take a look across our 5-day forecast, tomorrow we are almost to 90 degrees with a low of 63. Saturday is when we start cooling down a little bit at 71 with a low of 48. Sunday is when it really takes effect at a high of 68 with a low of 39. And as we go into next week is when our temperatures are going to continue to rise back up. Now, tomorrow we will be hitting a record high. From 2020, it was 88 degrees. Tomorrow, it's going to be 89. So we will be breaking that record. Now, as we look at tomorrow's progression, we will be starting off at 6 a.m. around 63 degrees. And then by 12, we're going to be at 82. And then by 3, we're really going to be hitting that high. So make sure that you are dressing accordingly because we're going to see over a 30-degree increase throughout the day. But that's all I have. Back to you guys at the news desk. Hi and welcome back. Sorry we were experiencing a bit of technical difficulties, but let's get into the weather right now in Columbia. So right now we're looking at a high of 54 and it's a little bit cloudy, but we're seeing a low of 31 as we get into tonight with humidity around 57% and wind about 14 miles per hour. Let's look at the weather across the state. So as we look all across the state, we're seeing pretty median temperatures staying pretty consistent all across the state. As we get on the coast, we're looking at Myrtle Beach, seeing 50. Rock Hill, we're seeing rain up there. Other than that, we're seeing some clouds through the Midlands and upstate, but some sunny areas down in Orangeburg, Charleston, Hilton Head. Let's take a look at the weather for tonight. So as we get into this evening, we're going to be looking at lows of about 35. Chance of rain is between 3 and 9%. Nothing too crazy like we've been seeing. Let's get into the 5-day forecast. So as we look into this week, we are seeing higher temperatures, which is really exciting. Like I said, for today, we are looking at a high of 57, a low of 35, sun all day. As we get into this weekend, we'll be seeing highs of 54 on Saturday with a low of 24. Super Bowl Sunday, we are seeing a little bit of chillier weather, so make sure you grab those coats, but you can leave the umbrellas at home because it's going to be sunny with just a bit of clouds and a low of 31. As we get into next week, we're looking at highs of 57 with a low of 35, and bless, on Tuesday, we are seeing a high of 64 finally with a low of 52. That's all for now. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Grace.
Thanks, guys, and I'm so happy that Kat was able to make it home and is safe, sound, and more importantly, warm. But let's take a look at this week's forecast. So like I said earlier, today we're looking at a high of 55 with a low of 31. As we get into this weekend, we're looking at highs of 48 on Saturday and Sunday with lows of 30 and 25. Super Bowl Sunday, it's going to be a cold one. You can leave that umbrella at home, but make sure you bring a jacket, especially as it gets later into the night after kickoff. Next week, we're looking at highs of 55 with a low of 31, and I know everyone is so happy about this. We're finally making it to the mid-60s. Okay, on Tuesday, it's going to be a high of 64 and a low of 34. But that's all I have. Back to you guys.
Grayson Thomas is live in the greenhouse with our first forecast for the day.
Thanks, y'all. Now, if you've already been outside today, you already know that it feels amazing. And as you can see behind me, it's sunny with a little bit of clouds, but I'll get more into that later on in the show. Back to you guys.
Weather is looking a little bit warmer, Grayson.
Thanks, y'all, and it definitely is. So I already gave y'all a little update about what's happening right now, but if you stick with us, I'm going to give you a little bit more about what will be hitting us early on next week, right after this break. Welcome back to Carolina News. So as I was saying earlier, we are having that pretty sunshine with just a little bit of clouds coming in and out throughout the day. Looking at a high of 80 with a low of 59, and humidity is around 44 with some wind pushing up through the southwest at 6 miles per hour. As we take a look across the state, we're seeing very consistent temperatures up here in Greenville, looking at 75, Rock Hill 78, here again in Columbia 80. But you'll notice these cold fronts pushing in off the Atlantic, which is causing Myrtle Beach to be around 66 and Charleston to be at 71. Now, as we look into tonight here in Columbia, though, we are looking at 74 at 6, 69 at 8, 65 at 10, and if you are going out tonight, I would take a light coat because we're going to be around 63 degrees. Now, taking a look into our 5-day forecast, we're again seeing those same consistent temperatures, but as we get into next week, that cold front will be pushing in, and that'll be causing some thunderstorms scattered around on Monday. It'll still be a high of 81 with a low of 62, and just getting a little bit warmer the next day on Tuesday. Again, sunny with some clouds, high of 84, low of 64. Now, I just find this so interesting. We're so close to hitting these record highs. On Friday, a record from 1961 has it as 85 degrees. We're 2 degrees away at 83. Saturday, 88. We're 5 away from that at 83. And now, tomorrow your commute might take a little bit longer, not only due to construction downtown, but this fog pushing up from those cold fronts on the coast. So just be aware of that. That's all I have. Back to you guys. Oh, definitely. As we look into this weekend, going to be around 83 both Friday and Saturday with lows of 62 and 64, and like today, it's going to be sunny with just a few clouds. Sunday, 82, low of 61, same thing. And like I said earlier, as we go into next week, maybe some scattered thunderstorms on Monday, but Tuesday, we're right back at it. Back to you guys.